It is weaker Friday morning, backing away from the 4-month highs hit yesterday as traders square positions ahead of the weekend. Canola down $2 to $8. The November contract down $4.30 at $757.80 per ton. Relatively milder temperatures and increased chances of precipitation in some dry areas of Western Canada contributed to today's selling pressure, although many regions do remain dry and in need of more moisture. Chicago soybeans, Malaysian palm oil, and European rapeseed futures were all lower, accounting for some spillover weakness in canola. However, soy oil was holding closer to unchanged. In the U.S., soybeans and corn futures are both lower, while wheat is mixed. Soybeans seeing some follow-through selling after yesterday's declines. The November contract down 16 cents at $13.23 per bushel. Recent rains are also thought to be helping ease drought concerns in parts of the U.S. Midwest. Weekly U.S. soybean export sales included about 150,000 tons of old crop business and nearly 600,000 tons of new crop sales. While the sales were at the higher end of expectations, an active export pace out of Brazil does continue to weigh on Chicago prices. Corn, it is down in pre-weekend positioning, seeing a correction after yesterday's gains. The September contract down 7 cents at $4.92 per bushel. Weekly U.S. corn export sales included about 250,000 tons of old crop sales and 400,000 tons for delivery in the next crop year. That was in line with expectations, but just as in beans, Brazilian corn is cheaper on the international market. U.S. wheat futures were mixed, with the Minneapolis spring wheat up 2 cents in September at $8.60 per bushel, but the winter wheat's all lower. Kansas City down 11 cents in September at $8.32 per bushel, and Chicago wheat down 3 cents in the September contract at $6.54 per bushel. The lack of any significant rain in the forecast for U.S. spring wheat growing regions contributed to the strength in that market, while the winter wheats were feeling seasonal harvest pressure despite ongoing production concerns. Weekly U.S. wheat export sales topped expectations with just over 400,000 tons sold. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, July 7th. In Winnipeg, for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Phil Franz Workington.
Ready to roll this haymaking season? Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John is ready, and they're offering 0% financing or cash back on select New Holland tractors, telehandlers, and hay equipment during the Ready to Roll sales event going on now. Being ready for tomorrow starts today, so hurry into Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John and save. Offers end June 30th.
For commercial use only, customer participation subject to credit qualification and CNH Industrial Capital Canada Ltd approval. Standard terms, conditions, and other restrictions apply. Down payment may be required.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Good morning and welcome to the show. A little later on, we're going to be chatting with Tristen Nielsen, a Fort St. John native who just signed an entry-level contract to play for the Vancouver Canucks. We'll talk about his journey from playing on the frozen ponds of Fort St. John to suiting up for a shot at the show in Vancouver. But first, the Peace River Regional District has pulled its support for a seemingly controversial idea of treaty land sharing after members of the public voiced strong opposition to the idea based upon widely shared misinformation that was shared on social media. So to chat about the idea itself and his experience with the public and other board members at some of the heated meetings of the board on the topic, we're joined now by the mayor of Chetwynd and member of the PRRD board, Allen Courtoreille. Allen, welcome to Moose Talks.
Thank you, Dub. It's nice to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm very grateful you've taken some time out of your day for us today. So I thought first we'd talk about treaty land sharing, just the concept of it. As I mentioned, there were some social media posts going on around it about what it meant and what this person thought it meant anyway, and it was widely shared, and it didn't seem to align with the truth. So I thought we'd start first with your understanding of what this idea was and sort of where it came from?
The understanding was that it was mentioned by Sion and Dale Bumstead, was at Saskatchewan, right? And I was in a under conference in Vancouver. They presented some of the stuff, and I heard directly from the people in Saskatchewan on the land sharing and why it was necessary. Some of the stuff there in Saskatchewan with land, it's there is no land because it's all farmland. Most of it is farmland and cities, and so they do not have the land base that British Columbia does in terms of provincial land. So they were having a little bit of a time. So with them being in that situation, they figured that having a land sharing agreement where Indigenous groups could cross their properties to get to their medicinal lands for plants and just be in their traditional lands, which had been taken in the past. That's all that I believe my understanding of the Sion, and he had more information. Dale Bumstead did when he presented to the PRRD, and I believe it was some of the stuff that went out there was just piled. It seemed like it was adding on to all the stuff that we've had going on in the piece. So it was quite a difficult position to be sitting at in the PRRD. As you know, I'm I'm Indigenous ancestry, right? So I'm from Treaty 8. I am Treaty 8, so it was quite a difficult situation to be in, to sit there and have all this go on around me. And so I didn't go to the second meeting. I talked to my CAO and in Chetwynd here, Steve McLean, and I asked for some advice, and he says, well, you better go with how you're feeling. And that June 8th meeting didn't make me feel very comfortable. And he says, well, there you go. So I didn't go to the second one. And that's my reasoning, is that if I was uncomfortable, I felt that it wasn't a good position for me to be in. So anyway, that was that meeting, the second one that happened at the Fort St. John there, to try to explain what the land sharing meant. But there is some good thought behind it, and it has been going on for a while. We just didn't have it on our radar to say that this is some of the stuff that neighbors have been doing in our area before, like in the Peace River Regional, and I'm certain in other areas too of BC and in Canada, where some of the land has been taken. And not to say that it was farmers doing this, it was our being a political entity myself, it would be on the political side that we said, yes, we need people in Canada, and there was laws against for people to come in and homestead. So that was how we built Canada. But on the other side of it, we've taken the traditional lands of my ancestors and the ancestors of all the people that live in reserve and off reserve. They've taken that away. So that came to a head with all the stuff that we've been doing here in the Peace River Regional District in our area with the caribou, the yahi, and the old growth. So there's a lot of stuff that has been piling up on our plate. And I think they came to voice their opinion. This is just my opinion too, is that people came to voice their opinion and be heard.
All right. Well, we're going to dig into some of, your experience, as you said, as you mentioned, being uncomfortable at the meeting in just a second. But the idea itself, it was sort of, as I understand it, you mentioned that this was already something that was happening. Indigenous people would say to landowners, I'd like to access your land to, practice my way of life. They would come to some sort of an agreement. This was sort of institutionalizing that in some ways, helping people to do that more. And it's happening in Saskatchewan, as you mentioned already. This was sort of the idea was floated, but somehow it kind of got misconstrued to be about the government's making this happen and forcing landowners to do this, when all along it seemed more like an opt-in program, like we'd like to see this, but nobody's going to have, their land taken away. So it sounds like you think the idea is a pretty decent one, just kind of on those merits, isn't it?
Yeah, we should make it clear, Dub, that forcing, that's what the thought was. Somebody was going to be forced to do this. And in the Peace River regional areas that I've been to and have seen, because I believe I've been to all the reserves, trying to make my way to their treaty days and Indigenous days, that it's been a good communication between the landowners and the First Nations. And I believe we can't say that we're going to force anybody to do anything. That was somebody's conceived idea, was that yes, we're gonna do this for a little while, and then we'll make it mandatory in the future. So that was the big crux in all of this, that we had. We'll get them on, we'll talk to them, and then we'll force them to do that. I believe that was something that I believe the other, when the landowners came and to voice their opinion, no, we're not accepting this. So, it was something that it was way out there, but the idea itself was a good one, and we need to be able to say that it was good, because that's what I heard. And some of the stuff that came out of our meeting, I never heard any remarks about the Indigenous side. We had poor audio, right, because we couldn't hear. Some of the mics went a little dead, so we were in a position of not even hearing our own chair. So it was kind of in a difficult position to be in. But as for trying to force anybody, no. Trusting government is a tough thing, and I believe that's why some of the people that were there moved into the country, Peace River country, to kind of get away from that kind of environment. So, and to be trying to be forced into something that they didn't want to do was not to their liking.
Did that response surprise you at all, Alan, when you saw so many people who seemed so angry about the situation, and as you said, based upon kind of a misconception of what was going on? Was that a surprise to you that was the response it got when, as we said, it seemed like a pretty good idea when it came from Saskatchewan and when it was presented by, Dale Bumstead?
No, when we talk about treaty rights and having a document like the treaty and getting into the treaty and saying that you have words in there that will give you the right to do what the treaty says. So anytime we talk about land, because what we have is treaty land entitlement, the TLE. So when we start talking about land and the treaty, then they're saying, well, we've already have these TLEs, TLAs, and now I forgot to mention that some of the land that's been taken by Site C. So that was from both from the Indigenous and from the farmers. So we have been told, and they says, we're just taking it. So this is what some of the stuff that happened. So when we talk about treaty and land, that's, I believe, is normal. We just, because people say that we're going to take your land, we're going to make sure that this is, it belongs to you, you paid for it, even if we pay for it, and for fee simple, and decide that we're going to take it and pay you regardless of what you say. That's what kind of got people, and some of those folks live right here in the Peace and on the north side of the river. They've experienced that. They've been land's been taken from them. So I kind of smile and says, this is normal. and kind of grin and say this is normal, because every time we talk about land and land entitlement, and we have this conception that the indigenous groups are just going to take the land. And right now in today's society, that doesn't happen without the province and the federal government getting involved. And there's the two entities that we're talking about, the province and the federal government. That's what happened here with the Southern Mountain Caribou Partnership Agreement, and that's what happened with Site C. So there's a whole bunch of items that we get to put on people's plate to think about. And it's quite disturbing sometimes when you're a landowner and when you belong to a treaty, that the treaty specifically says the right to live, your life, right? And that's pretty harsh on both sides when they're taking land away from you. So we're in a predicament right now where if we're going to talk about land sharing, maybe talk to the people that are doing it right now. So and there's some in the area that have been doing that, and so it should be out there, and it should be taken with that flavor of it has been going on for a while.
All right, Alan, we're already almost out of time, sadly, I have to say. So I want to get kind of one more question in for you. In regards to kind of the second meeting that you were in attendance at, and the final agreement that the board had after some debate to draft a letter of apology to kind of the area First Nations due to kind of the conduct of the board and sort of how they handled the public that was there in attendance and things that were said and whatnot. I just wanted your take on if you're happy with that, or if you think the PRD needs to do a lot better in terms of moving forward and acting kind of in a spirit of reconciliation with people in Treaty 8 and beyond.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of the PRD, but I believe I was in attendance when we did the letter, and I don't think it's out there, so I'm not going to speak on it because that's not fair to my chair of the PRD and other directors. My opinion on letters of something that happened, we have to be very careful where we walk. So that's the stuff that's happening right now. So I can't comment on that at this time. I'm going to have to wait for the letter to be given out to the public, and to the residents and to Treaty 8, because it was a disturbing time. So I'm not going to comment on the letter itself.
All right, Alan. Well, we'll have to leave it there. I really appreciate you taking some time, and I hope you'll come back on the show again in the future. We can talk about the letter. We can talk about lots of stuff.
Yeah. We'll talk about the closure of the mill and how Chetwynd's doing, and the gas. I'm certain there's a few subjects that we could continue to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time today, Mayor Courtoreille. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay. Thank you, Dub, and thanks to the listeners for following Moose FM.
Absolutely. All right, that's the Mayor of Chetwynd, Allen Courtoreille, joining us from Chetwynd this morning. We'll be right back to talk to Vancouver Canucks forward Tristen Nielsen right after this on Moose Talks.
Moose FM is everywhere with the Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser.
Hey there, I'm Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and today I'm live on location at Centennial Park. Now, this is one of the best places to be if you're looking to get your kids out of the house, because they have all sorts of stuff. Right here, we've got the spray park and a brand new play park. And for the older kids, it's right next to the parkour park. So this is a great place for the whole family. There's also an amazing large open space that you can bring a football, toss it around, just have fun running around. Great way to get some exercise. So get out here before it gets super busy and come find me, because I have my ballot box with me. And if you show me that you have the Energetic City or Moose FM apps, I'll be able to enter you into my weekly draw to win a $50 gift card. Doesn't stop there though, because when you enter this draw, you also qualify for our monthly draw. and that is worth so much more than a $50 gift card. This is Emily, your Fort St. Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and I'm going to be hanging out here at Centennial Park.
The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is fueled by FSJ Return It, United Rentals, Rhythm Auctions, Fort St. John Co-op, Home Hardware, and Lake Point Golf and Country Club.
Need ideas for what to do this summer? Sign up for our new newsletter and have yourself an energetic summer. Every week we break down fun activities to do across Northeast BC, from fishing to camping to museums. We got you covered. We also include a list of events happening every weekend. Don't waste the warmer weather. Go to energeticcity.ca/summer to sign up now. And hurry up, this newsletter is only here for a limited time.
There's nothing like waking up in the great outdoors. Water, trees, quiet, everything that makes your weekend perfect.
Whether you travel with a tent or an RV, listen Thursday and Friday at 7:50 a.m. and 4:50 p.m. and we will keep you updated on where to head for a weekend camping trip. No matter what direction your travels take you, there's always somewhere to check out. On the road to Liard Hot Springs, heading down south, maybe you're attending an event. Listen to 100.1 Moose FM for every detail you need with The Camping Report. The Camping Report, brought to you by Backcountry, helping you enjoy the great outdoors.
Join Just Jack's for their brunch buffet every Sunday all summer long. Enjoy a delicious selection of breakfast favorites from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Adults are $24.99, kids are $13.99, and little ones 5 and under are free. Plus, Encore Rewards players receive 10% off. Enjoy a delicious brunch buffet every Sunday this summer at Just Jack's and Chance's Fort St. John, your place for entertainment. Use your game sense. Know your limit, play within it.
The Subway Series is an all-new menu with amazing subs like the Great Canadian Club that are loaded with great Canadian flavor.
Oh yeah, bud!
Like Maplewood smoked bacon and Canadian farm-raised ham and turkey.
Yeah, let her rip with the meats!
Don't forget the Canadian cheddar melted on top.
That's some top-shelf cheddar.
There's even smoky honey mustard made with Canadian honey.
Sauce me that sauce there, bud.
Nice. So say yes way to Canadian flavor with the Subway Series. Only at Subway.
Oh, yes way!
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at energeticcity.ca.
Welcome back to the show. Now we're very glad to be joined by someone who's had quite the hockey journey, but recently signed an entry-level contract with the Vancouver Canucks. So to talk a bit about that journey, we're joined now by Vancouver Canucks prospect and Fort St. John native Tristen Nielsen. Tristen, welcome to Moose Talks.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking some time with us. So I guess, first of all, congratulations on signing an entry-level contract with the Canucks. How do you feel about that? Were you Canucks fan growing up?
I mean, obviously I always watched the Canucks being a BC kid. But
yeah.
I'd say I was kind of always a Boston Bruins fan, so it's a little bit of a conflict of interest. So, and you know, one of the players I kind of idolize my game off of is Brad Marchand. So it really doesn't look good. But no, I always watch the Canucks, and you know, watching the Sedins and guys like that was always fun to do. I mean, the Sedins were my mom's favorite players, so it was kind of like we'd always watch them.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about your journey a bit, because of course you played you know, minor hockey, if I can call it that, here in Fort St. John before, as I understand, you got drafted into the WHL. Or no, I apologize. Actually, I'm skipping a step. You went to Calgary to the Edge School. So tell me a bit about that, how that happened, and why you ended up there, and why you thought you should go there to kind of train and continue to hone your skills.
My uncle Ken Wagner, he's from Fort St. John. He actually lives in Calgary, and he always kind of told my dad that I should get down there because it's a really good school. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of went and toured it one day, and that's when we kind of decided that that's where I need to be if I'm going to be become a hockey player. So I was fortunate enough to have my dad move with me, and we moved there. My dad still lives in Calgary and stuff, so we went there, and it was awesome. I mean, it was a really good school. It was awesome for my development. It definitely is a reason why I am where I am.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you end up in the dub playing for the Calgary Hitmen. As part of your journey, you ended up in Vancouver. Tell me a bit about that, being traded as kind of a major junior player. It does happen, but Kind of a big step for somebody kind of in that age group to move from one city to another. How do you think that impacted your development when you get drafted by one team, but you get traded to another to kind of almost like a bit of a refresh or restart?
Well, to be honest, I actually asked for a trade out of Calgary.
Yeah.
I just felt like I needed to switch it up. And honestly, I think it was one of the best things for me as like a human being, because I was kind of always spoiled, obviously having my dad at home with me all the time and kind of drive me to the rink or whatever I needed, he was there. But when I went there, it was kind of, you're at a billet house, you got to learn how to cook, you got to learn how to get along with, like, they had younger kids and I've always been the baby. So it was fun having like little brothers and just like things like that, and getting along with a whole new family, living kind of nowhere near any family or anything like that. It was just a really cool experience. And I feel like it helped me grow up.
Did you enter the NHL draft and go undrafted, or was that kind of even really on your? Yeah, you did. Okay. So that.
Yeah, I went undrafted all 3 years.
So, that happens, and you kind of, is there a part of you that says, well, that dream might be over for me, but you kept kind of playing hockey, or was that something still in the back of your mind? I might still get my shot if I keep working on this, just kind of going a different route than you kind of at least normally hear about, at least in the media.
Well, originally I was supposed to go to an NHL camp, but then COVID hit. So I knew there was interest in me, but I just didn't have the draft status, I guess. And I mean, the draft's obviously a big deal, but how many players get drafted and never play a professional game of hockey? Like, it's no different than how many players go undrafted and play a professional game of hockey. Like, it doesn't really matter. And my dad was always right. You kind of, if you continue to get better, you're going to get to where you want to be.
And then, so you end up in the American Hockey League with the Abbotsford Canucks. In your time there, without an entry level kind of a contract with Vancouver, was there ever, was there ever the prospect of being called up by the big club while playing for their farm team, or did you lack a status that you now have with this entry level contract?
You do lack a status, because when you're on an AHL deal, you can't actually play in the NHL, but they could always sign you to an NHL deal and call you up the same day. Like, so at the end of the day, like, it's also, I could have been called up, but I just think that, they had their prospects and everything. And I think no matter what, the organization was awesome with not, like, especially in the AHL, they didn't look and say like, oh, this guy's a first rounder, he needs to play above the guys that are on AHL deals. They were, whoever the best players are is going to play. And I think it's going to be no different moving forward. But no, I've seen guys, my first year pro, so 2 seasons ago now, Sotner, he was on an AHL deal. He was about 20, I think he's 27, 28-ish, AHL deal, and they just transferred it to an NHL deal, and he got called up, and he played in the NHL for a few months, or maybe not a few months, maybe like a month. So it happens, and it's very realistic. I think I still needed some development, and hopefully this year I can get some games, but if not, I just need to keep developing.
And you had a great season last year. 41 points in the NHL, or AHL, I should say, is pretty darn good. So were you expecting this entry level deal to kind of come your way now, or was that kind of a big surprise when the big club called up and said, we'd like to give you this shot?
I definitely think it wasn't really a surprise. I think I really deserved it, and I think I kind of I walked the walk and then I talked the talk. So I think I was prepared for this, but obviously with any contract, there's negotiations. So I was very happy with this contract, and I really wasn't expecting this contract. But I think moving forward, obviously, I just hope I can keep proving the organization right by, taking a chance on me.
And I have to ask, and I really don't mean to sound like a negative Nancy, but of course the Canucks have had a few challenging years kind of since the Sedin era ended. What do you think that means for you in terms of just getting on a team that's still kind of in a rebuild mode maybe, and your opportunity that you might be able to break into this lineup a couple times this season, or maybe even permanently at some point?
I haven't really done too much thinking on it. I mean, it's any other team. I mean, if you're good enough to play, you're going to find a spot. So whether it be the best team in the league or the worst team in the league, it genuinely doesn't matter, in my opinion. I honestly think they've just had some tough luck. Like, I think the organization's really, really good. Like, it's a first-class organization. I haven't seen anything wrong with it, and I genuinely mean that. So I'm just looking forward to going into camp and just kind of doing me and seeing what happens, seeing kind of where my puzzle piece fits in the organization.
Awesome, Tristen. Well, we're really grateful you took a few minutes to chat with us here. We're going to keep in touch, of course, and watch your career closely. And good luck in training camp, I suppose, in September, Tristen. Thanks so much for being here.
No, thank you.
All right, that's Tristen Nielsen, a Vancouver Canucks prospect who was born and raised here in Fort St. John. We'll be right back to wrap things up right here on Moose Talks.
Headspace in Fort St. John now has fluid art workshops available for all ages. Stop by Headspace today to learn more about these and other workshops. You'll find them on 100th Street and 101st Ave, and you can also check out their workshops on Facebook and Instagram.
Moose FM is everywhere with the Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser.
Hey there, I'm Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and are you looking for a great way to cool down this summer? Well then come on down to Centennial Park because they have the Spray Park. That's right, the Spray Park's going to be the best way to cool down this summer, in my opinion. And when you get bored of being in the water, you can hop on over to the play park and let the kiddos run around, dry off. It's amazing. I'm going to be here until about 11 with my ballot box. So if you come on down and show me you have the Moose FM and Energetic City apps, then I'll be able to enter you into a draw for a $50 gift card. That's not all you get though, because monthly we do a larger draw with all of the weekly entries, and that monthly draw is a much larger prize. Also, Moose FM always has something going on, like our micro-consulting Last Chick Standing contest, where we will give several finalists a cardboard cutout of a chicken and ask you to hold on to it for a week. I'll be checking in on you, and if you get caught without your chick, you're kicked out of the contest. Last person standing gets 2 tickets to see the chicks. Moose FM's always running fun contests like this, and if you download the app, you'll have easy access to all of them, and so you'll never miss what's going on. This is Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host. Have a good one.
The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is fueled by FSJ Return It, United Rentals, Rhythm Auctions, Fort St. John Co-op, Home Hardware, and Lake Point Golf and Country Club.
The future looks bright, and Bronze Flooring thinks it's the perfect time to fill it with beautiful color. Bronze Flooring, your neighborhood Benjamin Moore retailer. Yes, they carry North America's favorite paint, but they're also a small local business, independently owned and a proud member of your community. Visit Bronze Flooring in Fort St. John for the very best paint, advice, and service you can use to make your future bright and colorful.
With summer upon us, let Kean Coatings qualified team serve you. From sandblasting or coating oil tanks, pipeline coatings, structural steel vessels, truck rims, trailers, and more. With 3 mobile blasters, on call 24/7, we use modern state-of-the-art equipment, in-house airless paint guns, and environmentally friendly blasting media to keep our clients 100% satisfied and ensure a safe future for our children. Call 250-262-4455. Proudly here to serve you. Warriors to the end, we get the job done.
For mouth-watering, gourmet-inspired, artisan-style pizza, there's only one obvious choice: Olio's Pizzeria and Eatery. Enjoy one of their signature pizzas, including pulled pork, Philly cheesesteak, nacho, chicken club, Mr. Mac, barbecue chicken, and more. Olio's also has amazing pastas, wings, wraps, and salads. Olio's Pizzeria and Eatery, Pizza of the North. Pick up, skip the dishes, DoorDash, or order online at oliospizzaandeatery.com.
Meeny, 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 mighty, mighty, mo. What you gonna order from? Olio's!
Moose Country weather.
Bit of a smoky day today, otherwise a mix of sun and cloud. We'll see a high of 25 with a humidex of 26. Few clouds tonight and local smoke again, a low of 13. Tomorrow mainly sunny in spite of the local smoke. We're going to get to a high of 27. Humidex making it feel closer to 30. And sunshine for Sunday, but it's going to be spicy. High of 30 degrees.
Our your community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
Big thanks to our guests Allen Courtoreille and Tristen Nielsen for joining us today. If you'd like to hear this episode again, or if you'd like to hear an old episode of Moose Talks, make sure you check out the energeticcity.ca podcast page. You'll find past episodes of this show there, along with all old episodes of Secrets of the North, Before the Peace, and Voices of the Peace, archived for your listening pleasure. Take some time to listen to excellent locally produced podcasts today over at energeticcity.ca/podcasts. That's our show. Jordan Prentice and Trey Lopashinsky are the producers of Moose Talks. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.